Time now to get an update on today's business news, and we're going to start with the US Federal Reserve. It's actually defied President Donald Trump, the American central bank, deciding to keep interest rates steady. Cole Stangler is here to tell us more. Cole.
Hi, Eve. U.S. president has put a lot of pressure on the Fed to slash those interest rates, as you mentioned. And the president was actually tweeting yesterday talking about the very same topic, announcing it should cut rates by 1%. He said it would make the economy go up like a rocket. Those are his words. On Wednesday, though, the Federal Reserve actually ignored that advice. It decided to keep borrowing costs between 2.25% to 2.5%. In a nod to the president's criticism, Chairman Jerome Powell said the bank is a non-political institution. He said it's keeping rates fixed as it waits for inflation to pick up again.
All I can see is that we have an economy where the expansion is continuing, growth is at a healthy level, the labor market is strong, we see job creation, we see wages moving up, inflation is low, which gives us the ability to be patient, and we do expect it to move up, and we want it to move up to 2%. So I see us on a good path for this year.
The U.S. and China have wrapped up another round of talks in Beijing aimed at winding down their costly trade war. Negotiators reportedly made progress with the final deal apparently not far off. The countries moving toward an agreement on rolling back their tariffs. Major sticking points do remain, however. Chinese subsidies to state-owned companies, for one, as well as market access for cloud services. Talks are slated to resume next week in Washington. So Asian markets are acting positively that latest round of trade talks between the U.S. and China. Stock indices in China and Japan are closed due to the public holidays, but as we're seeing some gains at the Hang Seng in Hong Kong, and well as the Kospi in Seoul, those investors also responding to better expected earnings from Apple that were announced yesterday and shaking off those frustrations about the Fed's decision to hold interest rates unchanged. Meanwhile, markets have just opened here in Europe, and showing some early losses here. CAC 40 down about 1/3 of 1%, the FTSE down about 1/5 of 1%, while the DAX in Frankfurt holding steady. Investors responding to that decision again from the Federal Reserve not to lower interest rates. That's really the main story on the markets this morning. And next up, Facebook may soon be required to create a new privacy oversight committee. That's according to reports. The new post would be part of a settlement that's currently under negotiation with U.S. regulators. Last week, Facebook said it was expecting a $5 billion fine from the Federal Trade Commission. If carried out, that would be a record penalty from the U.S. government against the tech company. The FTC accuses Facebook of violating a privacy consent decree from 2011. Those settlement talks are being closely watched across the tech sector. At the moment, regulators in Europe seen as far more aggressive than their American counterparts. And finally from me, the pilot strike at Scandinavian Airlines is rolling on. Unions and management, the flag carrier of Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, are back at the bargaining table. But as they look to strike a deal, the airline still announced the cancellation of about 280 flights on Thursday. The strike, which began last week, has affected over 380,000 passengers so far. Pilots say they want a pay raise and more predictable work schedules. Management says that's unrealistic. Either way, it's a costly work stoppage, Eve, and one that we'll be keeping our eyes on as those negotiations develop over the coming week.
Indeed, not an easy one for those wanting to travel. Cole Stangler, thanks a lot for that update on the business news. Now,